Hey everyone, EG here. So today I'm going to talk about something that's been on my mind a lot in the last few weeks, especially with the health issues I've had and just the stress, the general level of stress I've had, and the fact that I feel like I've aged 5 years in this last year. Between the 5 month journey in Europe and then coming back and getting seriously sick and with something that, did something strange to my body now. I've been dealing with the concept of the old person inside myself. And as we get older, we all have this old person in ourselves, that's just waiting to take hold. And I think a lot of people reach a certain age, not really sure what that would be, but for everybody, it's a different age, I think, where that old person starts to really claim them. And I have fought against this. Up to this point in my life, I've always fought against that. I didn't want to be the old person, the old woman that started to think like a really old person. I always felt like I had a youthful part of me that was always there. I think because I taught for so many years at a community college and being around the young people kind of kept me young, that I just didn't give in to that. And even up till this year, I had really not given in to that. And you guys know this concept. There's a saying about don't let the old man in. Well, I would say don't let the old woman in. There's a Toby Keith song about that. Apparently, he got the inspiration for that from talking to Clint Eastwood when he was in his 80s. And Clint Eastwood said something to the effect of, I get up every day and I have a sense of purpose and, I fight to not let the old man in, basically. I don't know exactly what he said, but it was something to that effect. Toby Keith turned it into a song, and it's really a concept, I think, that's universal, that really speaks to all people. So whether you're talking about the old man in or the old woman in, for me, it's letting the old woman in. It's just, something we all deal with at some point in time, I think. And I think you have to make a concerted effort to keep it at bay. Keep the old person at bay. And the way that I think is the best to do it, and I think even Toby Keith talked about this in his song, is that you have to have a sense of purpose. You have to have something every day to get up for that you have a sense of purpose about. And that's what keeps you going. And I've alluded to purpose in other videos before, but I've never really related it to the idea of really keeping the old person inside of us at bay. She's there. Old Allison is definitely there. And she's hanging around the periphery of my consciousness, let me tell you. And I have to work on it every single day to say, you know what? Not today. Today, I'm not going to be the old person. Today, I've got a sense of purpose. I've got a video to plan, or I've got something to edit, or I've got a live stream to do, or I've got things I have to do to move forward in my life. What my big mantra is, keep moving forward. And that's part of keeping the old person at bay. That's part of it. And, I watched my mother give in to the old person. She was so full of life when she was younger. When I really have a lot of good memories of her was when she was in her 40s. And she was a person that was just, I thought would never get old in her mind. But she did. She did. And not because she had Alzheimer's or anything. She became old. She let the old woman in, basically. And the last probably 20 years of her life, between 70 and 90, were awful. And I mean, it had been creeping in even before then. Of course, in my mother's case, what complicated it is that she was a late in life alcoholic. And so that didn't do her any favors. But whatever it is, my mother had her own demons about this. And unfortunately, she didn't overcome it. She didn't overcome it. And it was so hard listening to her. I didn't really see her that much the last 10, 12 years of her life, but I talked to her regularly. And it was hard seeing that happen in her, like seeing the old woman take hold. And, you know, she lost most of her sense of humor. She just, you know, everything was a complaint. She had no purpose. I mean, that's the bottom line. My mother, you know, she had never really made a purpose for herself through most of her life. I think that was, you know, the interesting thing about this is I think you almost sow the seeds of this when you're young. Because if you live your life without a sense of purpose, it's a lot easier for the old person to come in and take you as you get older. Because my mom really never had a sense of purpose. I mean, when she was a mom and she was raising my sister and me, and you know, especially after my dad died, I think that she had a sense of purpose then, because her purpose was she was going to make sure I was okay. And I appreciate that was how she thought. But after that, I think her only purpose was just to enjoy life, you know, and then unfortunately enjoy alcohol in her case. But she never had a sense of purpose, like something she was going to do that was going to make a difference in the world, or even maybe not something that grand, just something that gave her a sense of fulfillment. You know, even years before I had my YouTube channel here, which is my current purpose, I used to teach at community college, and that was my purpose for 13 years. I really loved teaching, and I thought, you know, even if I make a difference in one student's life every semester, usually I had about a total out of several classes, maybe 120, 130 students. I figure if I just make a difference in one of these lives, then that's enough. That's a sense of purpose. So that's what kept me going during hard times then. And now what keeps me going is this. You know, I'm going through probably one of the hardest, scariest times that I've had ever in my life. Part of it's because I've never been this old before, and I've never had some of these problems I have now. But you know what? I'm fighting through it, and what gets me through it is the sense of purpose. So I don't want to let the old woman in. I don't want to let her in and destroy my life, basically, because that's what would happen. When you turn into that old person, in your mind, in your psyche, then you're just marking time. And we're all marking time to some degree, but it's the amount of enjoyment you get out of the marking time that is the difference. It's the amount of fulfillment you get in marking time. That's the difference. You're not just sitting around watching TV all day. You're not just, you know, sitting, maybe just looking out the window all day. I mean, some people, that is the most of their existence. And, you know, if you're disabled and you're not able to get around and maybe, and again, for people with dementia, it's even more so. Yes, obviously, it may be hard for them to have a sense of purpose at all in that situation. But a lot of people who are older, their minds are okay. They can get around, even just to get around their house. But they still could have a sense of purpose. They could find it for themselves. And you have to fight for that. You have to dig deep for that. I know I'm digging deep right now, honestly, because this has been the scariest 4 months of my life, honestly. It's been the most disruption. I've faced the most fears. I've had the most physical problems I've had in a long time. And it's just, I'm having to fight through it, but I'm doing it. Now, I don't know whether I'll succeed or not ultimately. I mean, you know, we could all keel over tomorrow, but I'm hoping not. And I'm going to keep fighting until I'm really at the end. That's how I view it. As long as I'm capable of doing things, I will do them. Even with the stress, I just feel like it would be so much worse if I let her take over. If I let the old Allison take over, the old Allison that literally could just mentally give up. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be her. And so I'm fighting to keep her at bay. And anyway, if you are in a similar situation, let me know in the comments below if you have to fight to keep the old person inside yourself at bay. But I listened to that before I did this for inspiration. I listened to that Toby Keith song, which is a really good song, Don't Let the Old Man In, if you haven't heard it before. But it really did get me thinking that we all have that. We all deal with that. And it's how you deal with it that's important. So until next time, don't let the old person in and keep moving forward. Take care. Bye.